Hold it! Get that line tighter!
Scientists were shaken to their core when fishermen caught creatures so bizarre, so unmistakably intelligent, that no existing branch of biology could explain their origin. These weren't legends nor glitches in the camera. These were real mermaid encounters from the deep sea, filmed in moments no one was prepared for. Why do their bodies mimic us so closely? Why do they react as though recognizing the humans who captured them? And if these are only the individuals we happen to catch, what else is rising from the darkness we have never seen? Tonight, you'll witness the footage that forced experts into silence. Let's enter the first video. The deckside screamer. The footage filmed off Norway's Outer Banks started as a routine haul, but the fishermen caught something on camera that no one should have seen in daylight, especially a creature twisting with such deliberate resistance, it made even seasoned crewmen step back. It writhed hard. It gurgled sharply. It scraped its wing-like structures across the deck, as if scanning every plank for survival. And when the creature folded upward with that terrifying jerk, its ridged skull turned toward the lens with a confusion so human that even the scientists who later scanned the frames admitted they were genuinely shocked, insisting quietly that nothing in the world should mirror us this closely. If a creature dragged from the deep already behaves like an insulted prisoner, what does that say about who the ocean truly belongs to? The next footage doesn't soften the implication. The screaming tail-bound entity. The world first encountered this film sequence during a violent squall near the Barents Line, where fishermen caught a pale, thrashing anomaly on camera, something no one believed could exist in waters charted for generations. It raised its torso. It screamed like frozen metal cracking under pressure. It clawed desperately at the boards with fingers too thin to belong to anything comfortable on land. And as the creature slammed its tail with accelerating rhythm, its expression narrowed into that terrifying blend of suffocation and fury. A look so sharply filmed that scientists who scanned the footage later reported micro-movements identical to mammalian distress, a biological overlap the world has no language for. If pain at the bottom of the ocean now imitates us frame by frame, what future does that resemblance demand? The next recording drags this thought further than anyone wants. The slipping gray witness. When this creature was filmed sliding across a storm-soaked deck near Iceland's eastern ridge, the world reacted within hours, shocked not only by how fishermen caught it on camera, but by how calmly it seemed to assess its captors, as though no one aboard fully understood who held the advantage. It hissed low. It steadied its arms. It dragged its massive tail with a rhythm too controlled for something newly captured. And when the gray-skinned figure tilted its head toward the crew, its eyes fixed with a terrifying patience reserved for predators, deciding whether mercy is wasteful, a moment so precisely filmed that scientists who later scanned every frame said its emotional mapping felt disturbingly intentional. If the ocean is beginning to observe us with measurable judgment, do we dare assume we are still the ones documenting it? The next footage presses that question further. The net-bound intruder. The moment this creature was filmed being dragged across the trawler's deck near the Faroe Line, the world learned, again, that the ocean does not appreciate being underestimated, especially when fishermen caught something on camera that no one believed could be tangled in an ordinary net. It jerked violently. It spat seawater with a hollow rasp. It braced its arms against the boards as if rehearsing escape routes thousands of meters below. And when it twisted upward with that terrifying glare, the pale mask-like face fixed on the crew with a recognition so unsettling that scientists who later scanned the footage admitted the expressions resembled defensive communication, something deep-sea organisms shouldn't possess. If the ocean sends warnings shaped like us, how long before it expects us to understand? The next recording feels uncomfortably close to that answer. The deckside howler. This sequence was filmed during a routine haul near the Shetland Trough, but nothing about what the fishermen caught on camera resembled anything documented. No one believed a creature could thrash with such coordinated fury. It lunged forward. It screeched with a sound like steel dragged across wet ice. It spread its elongated fingers wide, dragging them across the boards as though testing the texture of captivity. And when the pale body twisted sharply toward the crew, its face contorted into a terrifying mixture of rage and pain. A look so clearly filmed that scientists who scanned each frame claimed the micro-twitches aligned with panic responses seen in primates. Something no deep-sea organism should mimic. If the ocean produces fear that mirrors our own, what emotion will it echo next? The following footage doesn't offer relief. The crawling gray survivalist. When this creature was filmed dragging itself across a rain-soaked deck near the Skagerrak Passage, the world reacted instantly, stunned by how the fisherman caught it on camera mid-escape, moving with a precision no one believed a net-bound organism could achieve. It clawed forward. It heaved its upper body with unsettling rhythm. It scraped its tail fin along the boards as though measuring distance to water with instinctive geometry. And when the gray figure lifted its head, its expression sharpened into a terrifying determination. Captured so clearly that scientists who scanned the footage later noted behavioral patterns resembling strategic retreat, an ability thought impossible for deep-sea fauna. If survival at the bottom of the ocean now involves calculation, what intelligence lies beneath us waiting to surface? The next footage edges uncomfortably close. The crawling breakaway. This footage was filmed during an overcast afternoon off the Yellow Sea, when fishermen caught a struggling figure on camera dragging itself across the soaked deck with a desperation no one believed a netted creature could display. It clawed forward. It writhed against the boards. It gasped with a hollow rattle that echoed between the metal rails. And when the pale body jolted upright with that terrifying burst of force, its face twisted toward the crew in a way so unmistakably aware that scientists who later scanned the frames quietly admitted the creature appeared to recognize restraint itself, reacting not like an animal but like something evaluating escape. If a being from the deep understands captivity, what else might it understand about us? The next footage does not answer kindly. The net-risen pale one. The world reacted within hours when this sequence was filmed near the Celtic Shelf, where fishermen caught a pale form rising through the net on camera, something no one believed could ascend so deliberately toward a boat. It strained upward. It snapped at the air with a drenched snarl. It reached through the mesh with fingers too defined to be mistaken for fins, and when the creature's head emerged fully above the surface, its soaked face locked onto the fisherman with a terrifying clarity. A moment so vividly filmed that scientists who later scanned the footage reported ocular tracking patterns suggesting targeted focus, a behavior unsettlingly close to intention. If something from the deep can choose whom to look at, what might it choose to do next? The following recording sharpens the unease. The silver-throated banshee. This recording was filmed off the Kamchatka waters, where fishermen caught a silver-bodied entity on camera, thrashing across the deck with a force no one believed a deep-sea organism could sustain. It heaved forward. It scraped its throat against the boards with a vibrating hiss. It swung its elongated tail in wide arcs that sent ropes sliding across the planks. And when the creature lifted its head, its mouth opened into a terrifying, soundless scream, captured so cleanly that scientists who later scanned the frames noted tension patterns identical to human expressions of extreme distress, a convergence unsettling enough to raise ethical questions. If the ocean produces beings that echo our suffering, what does that say about the depths we have never measured? The next footage tightens that silence. The deckside pale diver. This footage was filmed during a cold morning haul near the Coral Waters, where fishermen caught a pale, emaciated figure on camera, sprawled across the deck in a posture no one believed a deep-sea organism could assume. It gasped erratically. It dragged its arms outward as though measuring the limits of its new confinement. It stared upward with sunken eyes. That seemed shocked by the sky itself. And when the creature attempted to rise, its limbs trembled with a terrifying mixture of confusion and defiance. So clearly filmed that scientists who later scanned the footage noted micro-movements resembling reactions to sensory overload, behavior far too specific for blind instinct. If something from the deep finds daylight unbearable, what exactly does the darkness below contain? The next recording tightens that fear. The frost-bitten shrieker. This sequence was filmed during a storm-blown retrieval near the Bering Inlet, where fishermen caught an icy-skinned anomaly on camera, thrashing across the frozen deck, a sight no one believed could emerge from subarctic depths. It writhed violently. It snapped its jaws with a wet, guttural clatter. It shoved against the men holding it with limbs that looked too frail to resist anything. And when its body twisted in a sharp arc, its face contorted into a terrifying scream. Silent but unmistakably shaped by pain. So precisely filmed that scientists who scanned each frame later identified stress patterns associated with oxygen deprivation, raising disturbing questions about what pressures shape life below. If this is how the ocean breaks its own creatures, how would it break us? The next footage sharpens that doubt. The midnight shore crawler. This recording was filmed on a moonless night along a remote shoreline, where fishermen caught a figure crawling out of the water on camera, something no one believed would willingly leave the safety of the tides. It pushed forward on elongated arms. It dragged a powerful tail behind it with unsettling control. It lifted its head slowly, scanning the beach as though mapping dangers learned far below the surface. And when the creature paused, its expression tightened into a terrifying stillness, so clearly filmed that scientists who scanned the footage later compared its posture to deliberate reconnaissance, a concept never applied to marine fauna. If something from the deep studies our world in silence, what moment is it waiting for before it steps closer? The next footage suggests we may not want the answer: the shuddering giant. This footage was filmed off the Newfoundland slope during a routine net haul, but the fishermen caught something on camera so massive and so violently reactive that no one believed it could have been dragged to the surface by human hands. It thrashed once. It rolled against the beams with a bone-deep shudder. It flexed its scaled body in a way that bent the wooden planks beneath it. And when the creature's enormous form twisted sideways, a low, resonant vibration filled the entire deck. So clearly filmed that scientists who later scanned the footage suggested the sound resembled directional signaling, a possibility far beyond ordinary marine life. If something this large calls out to others, what exactly might be listening beneath us? The next recording hints at an answer too wide to ignore: the swarming dusk forms. This recording was filmed at dusk in the mid-Atlantic, where fishermen caught dozens of pale forms on camera emerging around the vessel. An event no one believed could happen so far from continental shelves. They circled slowly. They lifted their heads above the surface in eerie synchronization. They slapped the water with webbed limbs as though signaling to the boat itself. And when the group surged forward in a single unified wave, the footage captured expressions so eerily human that scientists who later scanned the frames admitted they struggled to categorize the behavior, noting patterns resembling coordinated pursuit. If the open ocean can hide gatherings like this at night, what stops them from doing it closer to shore? The next footage makes that possibility uncomfortably real: the wake-lurking pursuer. This final clip was filmed during a high-speed retreat toward port, when fishermen caught a dark form on camera rising through the turbulent wake. Something no one believed could navigate such violent currents. It lunged upward. It extended a broad fin that sliced through the water like a blade. It closed the distance behind the vessel with terrifying speed, matching every turn as though reading the boat's intentions. And when the creature surfaced fully for a brief second, its silhouette revealed a structure far too large and too agile for any catalog species, a detail later confirmed by scientists who scanned still frames and found muscle patterns optimized for pursuit. If something this fast can follow a fleeing vessel, what happens when the vessel can no longer flee? The next recording may never be released: the grinning deck spawn. This footage was filmed during an early morning haul near the Lofoten corridor, where fishermen caught a pale, almost grinning entity on camera. Its expression disturbingly human, as though reacting to the shock of capture with something closer to amusement than fear. It lifted its torso with unsettling ease. It flexed its webbed fingers against the boards as though testing their grip. It tilted its head toward the crew with dark, cavernous eyes that no one believed could belong to anything living at such depths. And when the creature opened its mouth wide, revealing rows of thin, razor-shaped dentition, the camera captured a moment so precisely that scientists who later scanned the footage reported faint muscular cues resembling intentional communication, a phenomenon impossible to classify within current marine biology. The fact that the creature seemed to acknowledge its captors, not merely react to them, has raised quiet debates about behavioral thresholds in deep-sea life. If an organism from the abyss can smile back at the people who caught it, what other intentions might lie beneath that expression? The next recording only deepens the unease: the chain-scarred Leviant. This recording was filmed aboard a small trawler drifting near the Barents Fracture zone, where fishermen caught a massive, slate-skinned entity on camera, struggling violently against a tangled chain. Its movements rhythmic, almost practiced, as if it had fought such restraints before. It arched its back with brutal strength. It dragged half its length across the planks, leaving deep grooves that no one believed human equipment could produce. It pressed its clawed forelimbs outward, bracing like an animal preparing for a counterattack. And when the creature twisted its head toward the men, the footage captured a terrifying stillness. Not fear, but recognition. An appraisal that scientists who later scanned the frames described as evaluative focus, a term rarely applied to marine organisms. The chain marks along its body suggested prior encounters with something far larger and far more prepared than a fishing boat. If this creature has wrestled chains before, what kind of adversary exists in the depths that would bind something so powerful? The next footage edges dangerously close to that question: the stern, clinging night form. This final clip was filmed during a frantic nighttime escape near the Solomon Ridge, where fishermen caught a luminous, angular figure on camera, clinging to the stern of their speeding vessel, its grip firm despite the violent churn of the propellers. It pulled itself higher with shocking ease. It flattened its chest against the metal, as though shielding organs unfamiliar to human anatomy. It stared upward with gleaming, slit-shaped eyes that no one believed could adapt to surface light. And when the creature lunged forward, the footage captured a terrifying moment of intent, clear, direct, and disturbingly strategic, prompting scientists who later scanned the frames to classify its movement patterns as pursuit-driven, a term usually reserved for apex predators. The speed at which it matched the vessel suggested muscular efficiency beyond any marine catalog. If a creature from the deep can outrun a boat designed to escape danger, what chance would a human have in the open water? The next recording, if it exists, has never surfaced: the iron-scaled breacher. This footage was filmed during a midday haul near the Norwegian Trench, where fishermen caught an immense iron-scaled creature on camera, writhing beneath layers of torn netting. Its mass so great that no one believed a commercial trawler could lift it. It convulsed once, sending vibrations through the entire deck. It scraped its armored hide against the wood, leaving dark streaks like metal filings. It flexed a dorsal ridge that bristled with serrated plates, unlike any known marine species. And when the creature rolled onto its side, the camera captured a slow, deliberate movement of its gill chambers, so clearly filmed that scientists who later scanned the footage suggested the creature regulated pressure differently from any vertebrate, hinting at extreme depth evolution. The density of its scales implies repeated survival against crushing forces and possibly predators far below human reach. If something this heavily armored can still be injured enough to flee upward, what wounded it in the darkness beneath? The next recording brings that question disturbingly close to the surface: the surface swarming voices. This sequence was filmed at dusk along the Baltic shoals, where fishermen caught multiple emerging shapes on camera, pale, open-mouthed forms rising together from the turbulence behind the vessel. They surfaced in erratic patterns. They opened their jaws in silent sync, producing no sound the microphone could register. They moved with startling precision, as though responding to signals unseen by the crew. And when one figure lunged closest to the boat, the footage captured the interior of its throat, lined with branching structures that no one believed could function underwater, let alone near the surface. Scientists who later scanned the frames proposed a disturbing possibility. The creatures were not vocalizing but sensing vibrations, absorbing the engine's output like a beacon. Their synchronized surfacing implies intention, collective tracking rather than chance encounter. If these organisms follow the hum of machines across open water, what happens when they decide to follow something quieter, like a human swimmer? The next footage does little to ease the thought: the snared pale hybrid. This final clip was filmed during a turbulent haul near the Icelandic Ridge, where fishermen caught a pale hybrid-like creature on camera. Its humanoid torso twisted violently within the collapsing net, It clawed upward with sharp bone-like talons. It snapped its teeth in a grinding spasm that resembled both threat and agony. It writhed with such coordinated force that no one believed a net designed for ton-class catch could contain it. And when the creature's face turned fully toward the camera, the footage captured an expression unnervingly complex: fear, fury, and something resembling recognition, prompting scientists who later scanned the frames to classify its facial cues as partially volitional, not reflexive. The rib structure visible beneath its skin suggested adaptations for both deep compression and rapid ascent, conditions impossible for known species to bridge. If something can move freely between the crushing dark and the breathable surface, what boundaries of the ocean still belong to us? The next recording, if it exists, has never surfaced: the glass-pressing unknown. This footage was filmed inside a research submersible drifting along the Coral Trench, where the crew caught three pale entities on camera pressing their limbs against the viewport, so close that no one believed the glass could withstand the strain. They dragged their hands slowly. They traced long streaks across the cracked surface. They tilted their faces toward the interior lights with expressions neither curious nor aggressive, but something disturbingly in between. And when one figure exhaled, the camera captured a bloom of particulates that scientists later scanned and identified as organic fibers, suggesting the creatures were testing, not attacking, the structure separating them from the humans inside. The quiet deliberation of their movements raises a single chilling thought. If they were studying the integrity of the vessel, were they preparing to return when it was weaker? The next recording ends before that answer arrives. Maybe every fragment of footage we witnessed tonight, every scream, every silent stare, every hand pressed against glass, was never meant for the surface. Yet here it is, caught on camera, forcing us to confront a world no one believed existed. If these encounters are only the beginning, then the real question is not what lives in the deep, but what happens when the deep decides to rise. New evidence surfaces every week, and the patterns are tightening. Stay with us, stay aware, and subscribe to this channel so you never miss what comes next from the darkness below.